Hi everyone, Jake Burkhouse with Meat Advisors, and I am really excited to actually have my guest here today, Jason Seyler. Jason is actually the author of Mastering the Millennials, correct?
Yes, Mastering Millennials.
Awesome.
Yes.
It's so great to have you here this morning.
Yes.
And you're coming from where?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina,
Yeah.
out to Chicago. So
Yes.
So glad to have you on.
Yes, thank you.
So, Mastering the Millennials, tell us, really what inspired you to write this book?
Well, what the original thought of that basically that provoked me, I guess, to write the book was I have a friend who runs online marketing for a major retail chain, and one of their struggles was they were losing their market share to this millennial generation. They were relevant to this up and coming generation, and I was listening to her, and I'm thinking, I was like, I didn't even know what millennials were. I was just like, so after I left dinner with her and her husband, went back to the hotel, I started studying them, and I like to solve problems, so I started studying them, I started reading all this material. I'm like, oh, this is fascinating, this generation. And then I did a survey, so out of curiosity of this major multi-billion-dollar company losing market share, and they were literally complaining about this millennial generation, and having that problem inspired me to want to, first of all, learn about who they were, and then once I realized their personality and what was going on, or what some of these initial surveys were putting out there in regards to how this generation thinks, how they buy, I was like, I'm going to try to write up a synopsis, and that's how the idea was initially. That's how I came up with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what is the premise of the book?
Well, the premise book is for people, for companies, for nonprofits, any type of business, small businesses, how they can master, leverage, win over the buying power of the millennial generation. Even goes into how millennials will how they work, their living environments, what they expect in their with where they live, and what type of amenities they would expect, along with the way they use social media, the way that they respond to power and authority. It touches on the makeup, the existence of a millennial, how they think, how they act, what's important to them, where they want to reside, their creativity, and their complete existence. It's almost like a snapshot of a millennial, and it was I was able to come up with this information based off 11,000 plus surveys that were answered over the course of 6 months from people that were from the age of 14 to 30 years old.
So, for our audience listening on here, who would be the idea person to really be attracted to reading your book?
That's a good question. So the ideal person our company, I guess the ideal person to read this book, Jake, would be anyone who is in, maybe they're in management, so they're managing a team of millennials. They don't even know. Maybe they don't even know they have millennials that are working for them. Like me, I didn't even really know what millennials meant.
Sure.
So if you're in management, you would want to read Mastering Millennials. If you're a pastor of a church, or maybe you lead some type of religious organization,
sure,
and you would want to read Mastering Millennials. If you're in sales, or you are in marketing, and you're trying to make sure your brand is relevant and the buyer experience is relevant to the consumer, you want to be able to master millennials. You want to understand how they think, what works, and understand that the old type of management styles and the 48 laws of power and the bait and switch techniques, it's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. So if you're in the marketplace, or you're serving in some type of nonprofit, you would want to read Mastering Millennials.
Great.
Yeah.
So as you guys are and when is the book going to be launched, by the way?
It comes out November 17th.
November 17th.
Yeah.
And so as this is coming out and you're thinking about the process, what is one piece in the book that you'd really like to convey to the audience? What is the one thing that sticks out to your attention that you've had some of the your editors read? Mm-hmm. What is something that sticks out that the audience would like to hear about?
I think the number one thing that it's going to stand out the most, and that I received the most feedback from, is the chapter on really their personality type and how they interact with society, with the marketplace. And for years, we all know, from Mastery to the 48 Laws of Power, all Mr. Green's books. For years, that's how, from politicos to corporations, they roll with this power that's a lot of manipulation, bait and switch, the iron fist. That is not going to work, and that whole chapter is actually dear to my heart, because I've seen so many different corporations roll like that, or they keep little Susie feeling good and she's doing her job because they just want her to stay at that level. God forbid she becomes the next chief, and little Susie don't know any better because she just thinks she was taught you do this. You worked there 20 years at that desk, and God forbid Susie breaks out. So there's a whole chapter in there that if you don't empower Susie already knows your game. And so as a manager or a corporation, you better create an environment where Susie can grow and she can let her wings fly, because you might think that you have her under your control through your management style, but with the millennial generation, it's not so.
Sure.
It really isn't.
Great. So, if the audience is going to look for your book and they want to find out a little bit about you, Jason, where can they find you? Where can they find some information about you? And, of course, when the book comes out, where can they buy it?
Yes. So the book's going to be, we have distribution through Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and it will be, you can buy it on masteringmillennials.com. And also through Facebook. If you go to Facebook and facebook.com/masteringmillennials, along with, you can find me on Twitter at Jason Seyler, Seyler, LinkedIn, Google+. You just want to look up Jason Seyler. And we will also, through the website, we will be selling direct from our website as well.
Great.
masteringmillennials.com. I guess one other thing too I wanted to bring up, if it's okay.
Of course.
One of the things that drives me, Jake, is just coming from a hopeless place myself. Just coming from a hopeless place myself and wondering, what am I going to do? I'm here on this earth, and what am I to do here? And having people pour into my life and hold me accountable, love me, guide me, direct me. Push me, if you will, and it has enabled me to become the man that I am today, has inspired me to really love people sincerely, not like, I love you because you can do something for me. And as I was seeing a lot of these younger people, because I was in management, I was working for companies, I developed companies, I'd see these kids, I'd see women, men come out of college, and I saw some of the same hopelessness within them, and their expectations of what they were told, that you go to school, then you go to college, and then maybe you get your MBA, and all of a sudden it's going to be great. And some of them found in places, working at McDonald's or working at the movie theater or still bartending. And I met a lot of younger kids that were depressed or frustrated, and from the place that I came from, and the hope that was instilled in me, I started to really, the love that I have for people started to pour out, and working with this younger generation, that they were much better off than me, because I went the circuitous route. I didn't even follow what society told you to do.
Sure.
They were just trying to do the right thing. Okay,
right.
Go to college, do this, do that, and then it works like this, only to be let down. I 9 times out of 10 let myself down, but through that, my own hopelessness, I found these people that were, doing exactly what society told them to do, did great in school, got passed, made it through college, and they were let down. So out of that hopelessness, I met thousands of them in my career, and even worked with them and grew teams, and to be able to inspire them and teach them that, hey, just because it isn't measuring up to what you thought it was going to be,
right.
If you do these things, if you're willing to do X, and you might have to break a few rules, you might have to do whatever it takes and stay a little later and get out of the mold, and watching these kids grow and become managers and watching their sales go from, you know, $50,000 a month to $500,000 a month
Sure.
by changing a few things. That hopelessness that I experienced has been turned into hope has inspired me then to help other people. And hopelessness doesn't necessarily mean that you came from a reckless life, you
Sure.
know. But anyone that has going through a season in their life where they feel hopelessness, or they're not where they're at, or they're frustrated, that is where my spirit leaps, and that's where I kick in and want to help that person and inspire that person and remind that person, don't lose hope. You know, what is your dream? And that really is what drives me, and even has driven me to write this book, because not only did I want to help my friend's company, but I also wanted to help the millennial generations. So this book is not just for the corporation to get in here and, okay, we got to learn how to manipulate these millennials to fit into our mold.
Sure.
This book is to introduce the millennials and to embrace the millennials. And so although this book is to help the corporations understand and embrace the millennials, I also work with the millennials to help them understand where these existing regimes, where they're rooted in, and where their devious, many times, ways come from, and their bait and switch. And so, because sometimes millennials can be very judgmental towards these old regimes, and they, just tell them,
Sure.
Where to go. So I have to help teach them, all right, well, this is how you are going to maneuver in this maze.
Awesome.
So I just want to make sure, the audience knows where my passion comes from. It comes from hopelessness, and then to experience hope, and to experience success. And with every success, we all know there's many failures. So just wanted to make sure I brought that out.
Definitely. I
Yep.
appreciate that. I really do.
Yep.
And appreciate you stopping by the studio today.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Thank you for being on Meat Advisors.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Yep, thank you.